Okay, class, so this is the hands-on exercise for week 3. We're going to try this out as just a video. That might be easier actually than us meeting live, though I like being live. So you've got your week 3 data you've downloaded from Canvas. Put it somewhere where you can access it easily. That's up to you. You've created a folder connection using this tool up here. And you've got New Jersey counties shapefile and states shapefile. We're going to use both of those in this hands-on. So the first thing I want to make a point of is that you can, within ArcCatalog is where you kind of want to do all of your like moving data around and stuff like that. So let's just say, for example, I wanted to, here I've got this link to where on YouTube the video for week 2 is. I can just drag it into week 3. I can drag it back to week 2. And the nice thing about using ArcCatalog for this is that, okay, this text file is just a file, but if you remember, the SHP file kind of stands in for 5, 6, 7, or 8 different files. And if you use Windows itself to like move files around, it's easy to miss a file, and you get 5 out of the 6. And when you only get 5 out of the 6, that means oftentimes it won't open, or it'll open but be missing some really important element to it. The projection would be a common one to forget to bring over. So you can also, you can copy paste, you can do all kinds of, you can export things to CAD. We're going to get to coverages. Well, you can't see this, I think it's outside of the, you can export them to different formats as well. Okay, so in this exercise, we're going to look at projection systems. So right now we're going to look at New Jersey's counties. I'm going to first just right click on it and look at its properties and look at its coordinate system. And it's currently in the coordinate system NAD 83, which is the North American datum. If you watched that video, you saw what a datum was. It is the state plane for New Jersey, and then the rest is kind of just technical details. The last word, actually, feet, is important, or is interesting at least, in that it is the distances that are used. So everything is measured in feet in our map. The projection is a transverse Mercator. These again work terribly for the planet, but work pretty well for states or regions that are kind of north-south oriented. So that's what the state of New Jersey uses as its official projection. So that's the coordinate system. Important to realize here is that this is a shapefile that has its projection defined. There's a separate little file, we're going to look at that in just a second, in which the data are defined as having this NAD 83 state plane coordinate system and the projection of a transverse Mercator. That PRJ file that defines the projection of the coordinate system is sometimes missing, and it's a major headache. And we're going to simulate in this hands-on what you do if that is missing. And sometimes it's a bit of a guessing game, to be honest. Okay, so that was us looking at the shapefile's properties. Next thing I'm going to do is just click and drag this and import it. So here we've got all the counties of the state of New Jersey. It's done at the state level. So for example, the spit of land at Sandy Hook is included. It's relatively detailed. It's not probably the most detailed map of the state of New Jersey you'll ever see, but it's pretty good. And immediately we can see, if you're familiar with maps of New Jersey, it looks like New Jersey. It's not squished, it's not stretched, it's not kind of facing the wrong direction or anything weird like that. It looks like New Jersey. So it's in the right projection, it's in the right coordinate system. It all looks good to me. So the next thing I want to point out is down here in the bottom right. It's always telling you where your cursor is. Right now the cursor is outside of the map, so it's not telling me where we are, or it's telling me where the cursor was at the last moment it was on the map. But if I move the cursor around, you can see it changes. Everything is measured in feet, and it's measured in feet from a 0, 0 point. And the 0, 0 point, I'm going to zoom out a few times. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's somewhere like here where my mouse is right now. The 0, 0 point for state plane projections are usually well outside the state. So you can see even in kind of like down here in Cape May, we're really far away from the 0, 0 point. We are, I have to squint a little bit, we're 383,000 feet east of the 0, 0 point and 34,000 and some change feet north of the 0, 0 point. Okay, I'm going to zoom back in with the full extent zoom, which just kind of, zooms you into the full extent of the map, basically. I'm going to, next thing I want to do is create a new map, just so that it's not in memory, that this shapefile is kind of, ArcGIS occasionally, for different purposes, will lock the files you're working with, which means then they're hard to work with outside of the GIS environment. So you might get an error message a lot of times. If you want to like work with it within Windows or within some other program, it might be useful to remove it from your map. Sometimes there are even problems with that. So creating a new map or even shutting down ArcMap can be ways of solving that problem of your files being locked. Okay, so I click OK. I'm not going to save changes because why would I? Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is open up. So now I've got, this is just the Windows Explorer, File Explorer. These are all the files associated with the hands-on exercise for week 3. We've got all of these files are associated with New Jersey counties shapefile, and then in a minute we're going to use the states of the United States separately. So those are those files. The PRJ file is the file that contains the information about the projection and the coordinate system. So you can see over here when it comes to size, they are teeny tiny files. They don't contain much. They're just literally a description. Like you can actually kind of read them. It's almost in English. And I'll show you what they look like next. So where's open with? So I've already opened it with the text editor, so it already knows that it can be opened with a text editor. If it's your first time looking at this, that won't be the case, so you'll have to use open with. I think for you, open with will be at the very top. For me, it's at toward the bottom because it thinks that it knows to open it with Notepad. So you're going to find Notepad. For you, you might have to go to more apps and kind of find Notepad. I'm going to open it with Notepad. I should have unchecked this. That would have made my life better for this video, but that's fine. Notepad. Okay, I think that's outside of your viewing area, so I'm going to reshape this window. And now you should be able to see. So it's like I said, it's almost in English. The projected coordinate system is NAD 83, state plane New Jersey, blah, blah, blah. The coordinate system is GCS North American, the datum is North American 83, and on and on. You can see the different, I'm just going to kind of, need to read this in great detail, but there's all these different things. They're written out in sort of almost plain language, and it's a teeny tiny file, right? So what we're going to do is this PRJ file contains all of the information you need to display the New Jersey counties correctly in the way that they're meant to be displayed, which is NAD 83, New Jersey state plane, feet, all those elements that we just talked about. So if that PRJ file is missing, if I were to delete it, we'll see that New Jersey, the counties of New Jersey come in and look weird. And if you remember from the slides, they come in weird in a specific way. So I'm not going to delete it because I don't like to delete things. In Windows, if you're not familiar with Windows, the extension, everything after the period defines what type of file it is. So you see it's .prj, and it's defined as a PRJ file. So if I change PRJ to PRK, then it's a different file type, and it's going to give me this warning and so forth. If you don't have the extensions turned on your machine, go ahead and delete it, or even if you just change, I'm going to actually do this. You can follow along with this because I bet most of you don't have your extensions turned on. I'm going to turn it back to PRJ, so it's going to be the right file type, but it's not going to be called New Jersey Counties. It's going to be called New Jersey Counties with a Z, right? So no longer does it match. So it doesn't fit with the other one, so ArcMap will not find it, won't think that it's associated with New Jersey counties. Okay, so everything is New Jersey counties, except for the PRJ file, which is New Jersey counties with a Z, meaning that it no longer matches, it won't be loaded with the New Jersey counties. Okay, I'm going to minimize this File Explorer window, go back to ArcMap. It's always nice to use the refresh here. I never trust ArcMap. It's old software, a lot of it, so I want to make sure that it, yeah, so now it recognizes that that there is a PRJ file there, but it doesn't match with anything else. It just floats out there with, by itself. It's not associated with New Jersey counties. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. This is our experiment to see what happens if that PRJ file that defines the projection, defines the coordinate system, is not in there. So I'm going to drag New Jersey counties in, and it says, the following data sources you added are missing spatial reference information. Spatial reference just means projection and coordinate system. The data can be drawn in ArcMap, but cannot be projected. That's exactly what this experiment was all about. So it is now, if you look at the bottom right, instead of feet, it is in unknown units. That's not good. Okay, so let me now demonstrate why the missing projection file, or PRJ file, is a problem. We just saw that it's in unknown units. That's a problem. The main problem is that it just will draw the state in the wrong place on the map. It will have it at very much the wrong size, as you'll see in a second. So what I'm going to do first is just bring in the states shapefile. That draws okay. It's plat carré. So the US looks weird. We're going to just live with that for a second. And if we had the PRJ file, it would draw right here on top of the state of New Jersey, right? But in fact, when I drag New Jersey counties in, first of all, it gives me this warning that the spatial reference information is missing. As I say okay to that, and I don't see it anywhere. And I'm going to just zoom out a bunch in a second, and you'll see that it's drawn New Jersey in the wrong place and gigantic compared to the US. So I'm going to zoom out just, I don't know, 25 times or something like that. And there we go. So now the US is a tiny little dot here, like 1 pixel. And New Jersey's counties are over here, so not in the US, not on top of the US, but to the right and above them. And obviously way too big. So a big problem, this is something that you definitely want to avoid. So the next thing that we're going to do is to fix this problem. So we know that the PRJ file is not there, is not associated with New Jersey counties with an S. We could simply just rename this back to New Jersey counties with an S, and then everything would be fixed. Instead, what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to just create a blank map. And then I'm going to use the, within the toolboxes, there is a tool called Define Projection. So we know that New Jersey counties, the shapefile, is in New Jersey state plane. We're going to just use that tool to define the projection. Now you could go searching in toolboxes, under system toolboxes. I believe it's under data management. Yeah, projections and transformations. And then we have here define projection. So if we double click that, we'll get to it. I just want to show you also that the search is going to be your best friend. So we can just type in define projection, because there's a lot of tools in those toolboxes and it can be hard to find things. So here we go. There are actually 2 tools for define projection. Just for now, know that the data management one is the one that you want. We're not going to deal with, this is something kind of separate called coverages. We're not going to deal with those in this course at all. So define projection. We want to define, I gotta go and find my file, so it's New Jersey counties shapefile. It takes a moment to load. and we're going to define the coordinate system. Currently, you see it's defined as unknown. New Jersey state plane is a projected coordinate system. We could go through here. It's a state plane. We can also type in New Jersey state plane, plane with an E, and that didn't show up, so maybe it's actually called New Jersey and not NJ. There we go. Okay, so then it finds there are 11 projected coordinate systems called New Jersey. We know that we want it in NAD 83 in US feet. So there it is. NAD 1983 state plane, New Jersey, FIPS 2900 in US feet. And this is the New Jersey state plane that you're always going to be using. There are slight variants on it, like you see up here, NAD 83 course 96. That's slightly different. That's not what we're going to be using. And here we have NSRS 2007. That's not what we're going to be using. We're using just plain old NAD 1983 in US feet. So we click on OK. And then we click on OK. And it's running. And probably outside of your view screen, it'll tell me when it's finished. In the meanwhile, I'm going to go back to ArcCatalog. Okay, it's finished. And I bring in New Jersey counties. And, oops, I guess it isn't done yet. There, now it's done. All right, now I see it's done. All right, so I'm going to redo that. That's fine. Like map. And there we go. It didn't give me the warning. You see down the bottom right, it's all in feet now. We're good to go. Okay, so I guess I'll demonstrate then that if we bring in states, I'm going to bring it all the way over here to the left to the table of contents, because if I just drag it here, it's going to draw it on top of New Jersey, and I probably want it below New Jersey, right, the states. So I'm going to bring it in over here, and then I can select do I want it on top or on the bottom, and I want it on the bottom. And so there we go. And we saw this in the video from last week. It doesn't line up perfectly. That's fine. We all understand why that is at this point. Okay. That's it for the hands-on exercise. So I will see you all online.